Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hi there, my name is Jacob McCourt. I'm a content creator. I host a bunch of podcasts, the Left Behind Game Club, cutscenes, crossplay conversations, and then do a little show at PAX's and on YouTube called Video Game Trivia, but I will tell you about all of that at the end of the show. This is my third episode of Side Quests. The first two, episode 10, I covered Kirby Superstar, and episode 109, I covered Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. So if you want to complete the trilogy, check that out. I was absolutely shocked that this game was not taken. Today I'm here to talk about Psychonauts, this one developed by Double Fine Productions and published by Majesco. Came out in 2005. You may know Double Fine as a creator of some cult classics, Psychonauts, Costume Quest, Broken Age Stacking, as well as the remasters of some classic LucasArts PC games, like Grim Fandango. Small plug, if you want to listen to a great episode about Brutal Legend, which is another great Double Fine game, listen to episode number 202. That's from Dave Proctor, who is from Mighty Yell, who made The Big Con and Night in the Attic. He talks about Brutal Legend, so there's some more Double Fine goodness for you. Back to Psychonauts. Actually, sidebar about this. Double Fine is now a Microsoft first-party studio, which is wild to me because Double Fine was almost bankrupted because of Microsoft. The short story is Ed Freeze, who led the team that created the Xbox, left Microsoft in 2004. The game was dropped in Microsoft. They were basically getting ready to launch the 360, and they were like, hey, if the game doesn't come out in 2004, then we're going to drop you. And Tim Schafer was like, hey, it's going to come out maybe in Q1 of 2005, and they were like, see ya. And they had to secure funding from Majesco. Will Wright is involved in this story because, Tim Schafer needed help to make payroll on one of the last payrolls before Psychonauts came out, and went to his friend Will Wright, who had just sold his company Maxis to EA, so couldn't hold stock in the company, so basically funded or loaned money for a payroll until the game came out, and then Will was able to get paid back from Tim. Sorry, that was a huge sidebar. Let's talk about Psychonauts. I swear, I could do entire podcasts about, Double Fine's foray into self-publishing, their acquisition by Microsoft, and the age of Fortnite, but I'm going to get it back on track here before Matt or Jeff cut me off. Psychonauts is a platformer from the mind of Tim Schafer. And to give you an idea of what inspired the game, here's a quote from Tim that's contained in the beautiful 20th anniversary Double Fine coffee table book. The quote is, "I took the Psychology of Dreams class, and I had a realization that everything you dream is all you. The monsters are you, the other people, everything is you because it's your dream and it's you expressing different aspects of yourself in conflict." So in this game, you play as Rasputin Aquato, Raz, a kid who literally ran away from the circus to go to psychic summer camp. This camp is called Whispering Rock, and Raz sneaks in, gets caught by the Psychonauts, who are basically like the U.S. government's version of, Psy operatives. There's long backstory about a meteorite that crashed that gave the local fauna psychic powers, and so that rock essentially gets people to develop their psychic powers, faster and better, but you can essentially play the game if you want to hear more about that. But essentially, he's told, you can't train with the other kids, just sit here until your parents come. Well, that doesn't last very long because he gets caught up in an evil plan by Dr. Lobato, who essentially is think of him like an evil dentist that would come from a Nickelodeon show in the early 2000s. Imagine a villain that could be on Danny Phantom, and that's what you get from Dr. Lobato. And essentially what he's doing is trying to extract the brains of kids at this psychic summer camp to weaponize them. It's a whole thing, but what do you actually do in Psychonauts? Well, it's a platformer in the simplest kind of description of the game. In it, you dive into the minds of folks and live out their hopes, their dreams, their nightmares. And I think the greatest asset that this game has going for it is that it's genuinely, still to this day, one of the most creative games and series that I've ever played. It's hard to match, and especially compared to games in the same genre, in that platformer genre. You think of something like a Banjo-Kazooie, and I promise this is not Banjo-Kazooie slander, but that actually has a lot of imagination in it. I think Psychonauts has more. No world is similar. Every world that the team puts together is unique. Everything from the kaiju-inspired Lungfishopolis, where you literally, play as a kaiju and you're destroying buildings and, smushing things under your feet, to Waterloo World, where you're essentially like playing a big game of Risk, world domination, where you go from essentially like an old school like library, and then you jump into the actual game itself and you shrink down to be on the game board. There's cult classic levels like Black Velvetopia, which imagine almost like a glow stick version of Spain, where you're running with the bulls, and then the Milkman Conspiracy, which, listen, if it's 2023 and you still haven't been spoiled, milk joke, spoiled on this level, like, do yourself a favor and at least go and watch some gameplay clips, because I think it's just like, it is exactly, if you want a good idea of what Psychonauts is, just watch some clips of the Milkman Conspiracy, because just from like a writing and gameplay design perspective, it just does stuff that, in 2005 you didn't really get. The platforming is super imaginative. Basically, you have psychic powers that are sort of inspired by the fact that you were a circus performer for a while. So stuff like using a mental ball of energy to run on a little balloon so you could go faster, all the way down to your double jump, and your safe parachuting from double jump is done by bouncing off a ball to do a double jump, and then using a parachute or rather a balloon to basically parachute safely onto the ground. It's just, super imaginative stuff all the way around. The writing even still gets, chuckles out of me to this day. Writing is always great in Double Fine games. I think of stuff like Broken Age as, a very funny game. Psychonauts is also like that, but they're plussed up by the wonderful voice actors that they always get in the game. Richard Horvitz, who you will surely know. I mentioned Danny Phantom earlier in the episode. You will know from Invader Zim, from Angry Beavers, from Grim and Evil, from The Adventures of Billy and Mandy, from Alpha 5 in the Power Rangers series. I could go on and on. Richard voices Raz, and I literally can't imagine anyone else doing this role. He's so perfect for it, despite being, an older gentleman. He plays, a kid going to psych a summer camp, and he's just like so perfect for the role. That and the classic soundtrack from Peter McConnell, who's done music for tons and tons of your favorite games, makes this one, hard to put down even now. If you have Xbox Game Pass, because as I mentioned earlier in the episode, Double Fine is now owned by Microsoft, you can actually download and play Psychonauts on Xbox Game Pass now, as well as the second game. You can play both of those really easily now. They're easy to access. The game's on Steam as well, so it makes it, really hard to avoid. It makes it easy to recommend, especially when it's just, if you've got a Game Pass subscription, you've already got it. I could go on and talk about, what happened with Psychonauts 2, how that game was supposed to, be developed over just a couple of years. There's a great documentary, if you haven't seen it, called Psychodyssey. It's like a 30-plus part documentary that covers in depth the development of Psychonauts 2. It is a phenomenal watch. It is a look into game development that folks don't normally get, and it's just something that is hard to that it's impossible not to recommend. So I guess you have a whole bunch of things to do after this episode. I've recommended episodes 10, 109, and 202 of this show. So if you want to listen to myself and Dave Proctor talk about other games or games that Double Fine has made, you can do that. I've recommended Psychodyssey, which is a wonderful documentary series from a team embedded within Double Fine that gives you a view on game development you won't get. And I'm actually going to plug one of my podcasts, the Left Behind Game Club, episode number 104. In that episode, myself and two co-hosts and guest Control Alt Noob dive in deep on Psychonauts. And so if you're looking for more details on that game after you've played it, or just to, give yourself a smile, check out episode 104 of the Left Behind Game Club. That's all from me. So I guess here's where the plugs come. I host a whole bunch of things. I mentioned the Left Behind Game Club. It is a video game book club podcast that's been going for almost 7 years now. You can basically find a game that you love or a game that you're interested more in. That's probably the best place to start there. Cutscenes is a video game, movie, and TV podcast. We've covered, old movies, new movies, and then, shows like The Last of Us on the show. So if you're a fan of film and television, give that one a try. And then I host a topical game show, a little bit like Fun and Games, but different. That one's called Crossplay Conversations. I do it with my friends Luke Lewis and Joseph Hooper. And then as far as where you'll find me, besides on Twitter at Jacob McCourt, JACOBMCCOURT. I regularly do video game trivia on YouTube and at a PAX near you. Think of like silly, irreverent, hard to know trivia about the video game industry. That's sort of what we're all about. So you can check that out at a PAX near you or on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Jacob McCourt. I've done it some other places, but that's probably the best place to start. That is all from me, so I've got to say the thing that we always say on this show, which is cheers and happy gaming.
Do you feel like you're the only person in your circle who wants to go deep about video games regularly?
We were like that too, until now.
Welcome to Crossplay Conversations, the brand new bi-weekly topical video game podcast from Luke Lewis,
Joseph Hooper,
and Jacob McCourt.
With many years of breaking it down separately on shows like the Left Behind Game Club, Player Podcast, and Lukewarm Games, the gang is finally coming together to publish their gaming group chat in audio form every other week.
Expect roundtable reviews of the latest games, profiles of upcoming indies, and insightful conversations about essential topics in the video game industry. All with a mostly positive, insightful, and fun style.
Crossplay Conversations debuts on August 1st with brand new episodes hitting every other Tuesday. Help us out by subscribing on your podcast platform of choice to get the first episodes delivered straight to your feed.
And follow us on Twitter at Crossplay Convos for updates about the show.
Cheers and happy gaming.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.